Today we're looking at my review after 100% for VIII Lacrimosa of Dana. And you may be asking why I'm reviewing a game from 2016, and I'd say, I don't see age. Scratch that. The Ys series has been around for decades. The first game released in 1987 for the PC 8800. Yeah, remember that system? No? Well, there has to be something special about Ys that's kept it going over the years, amassing a small but loyal fanbase. And yet it's never broken into the mainstream like other heavy-hitter RPG franchises. Before this, I only played Ys Origin, which is a charming spin-off, feeling like something from the SNES era. Check out my review if you're curious. But I've never played any of the mainline entries, and one that's been on my radar for years is Ys VIII. Originally released in 2016 for PS Vita and PS4, with later releases on Switch, PC, PS5, and even Stadia, Luna, and mobile versions. But one platform is obviously missing. Yeah, another great JRPG totally skips Xbox. And this is a real shame, considering how well it was received. So, needless to say, when I finally played Ys VIII, 8 years after launch, it wasn't on an Xbox. I played on my PS5, so let's check out Ys VIII.
We'll defend this place with our lives!
Weapons ready, everyone!
Unlike, say, the Trail series, where you need to play absolutely every single entry, otherwise you'll be completely lost, these games are mostly self-contained adventures. There are usually returning characters like the series hero Adol, but other than some winks and nods for the fans, each game is standalone. And that's the case with Ys VIII. Now, since I've only played Ys Origin, and it's one of the few games that doesn't star Adol, this is my first experience with the intrepid hero. And what a fantastic experience! With a large cast of well-rounded characters and a fun, unique story filled with intrigue and a huge island that's a joy to explore, and fast, frenetic combat throughout. We open with Adol and his buddy Doji working on a ship in exchange for passage across the Gate Sea. But this ain't Sea of Thieves, so your watery expedition soon comes to an end. As they pass by an island known for swallowing up ships, they're attacked by a kraken that sinks them to the bottom of the ocean. Soon after, Adol washes ashore and finds himself all alone. So he sets off to find other castaways and resources in hopes of making it off the island. Of course, things aren't quite so simple. The inhospitable island is filled with strange prehistoric creatures, dangers around every corner, and a dark history that makes escape all the more daunting. As he searches for other survivors, he runs into... oh, hello. Laxia, a noblewoman. Wait, Laxia? Yeah, and Sahad, a fisherman, team up with Adol. As they run into more survivors, the group continues to grow. All the while, Adol has this recurring dream of a mysterious girl from long ago, who may be the key to getting off the island. The simple and straightforward story is a breath of fresh air. I appreciated the Caribbean-style setting rarely seen in RPGs, a plot that wasn't overly complicated, and I wasn't sent into a depression spiral since this is mostly a lighthearted affair. And while the story isn't throwaway by any means, it's brought to life by the huge cast of charming characters. But the star is definitely the island itself. The large island is made up of smaller interconnected zones, and even though it's not a traditional open world, you have a lot of freedom to explore. And exploration is absolutely the name of the game, with a lot of combat sprinkled throughout, and some light simulation elements. But trekking across the island is what the gameplay is all about. Seriously, I can't think of another game that prioritizes exploration quite the same way, with as many systems that compel you to venture out into the world. There's a quest board, filled with mostly fetch quests that reward you for finding a certain number of this or that. Of course, you'll acquire resources and equipment as you uncover chests and harvest plants, but you'll also receive rewards from Captain Barbaros for every 10% of the map you explore. So based on that alone, you'll be driven to search every inch. And as you do so, you'll find more castaways stranded on the island. Whether they join the party to fight alongside you, or use their talents at the village to become a blacksmith, a tailor, run the apothecary, and more, each one is a valuable addition layering in new gameplay elements. And the more people you find, the more they can help you. There are these barriers that block your path, each one requiring a specific number of people to help to get it out of the way. Now you can't remove them until you've rescued enough people. But once you do, boom! Now you have a whole new area to explore. You'll also find adventure gear and gain new abilities that aid with exploration too, like the grip gloves that let you climb up vines or a double jump that lets you reach new heights. It has this almost Metroidvania feel, where you'll make mental notes of the places you can't access just yet, but know you'll be able to at some point, and then you'll get that dopamine rush when you've gathered enough people or now have some new skill that lets you finally see what you've been missing. Through all of this exploration, the one thing that I really didn't like was the map, surprisingly enough. And what makes it all the more surprising is how many maps you have. You have a mini-map that's always visible, 2 different sized overlay maps, and a world map that you can toggle between 2 different views. But since no map has everything you need, you'll find yourself constantly switching between different views, trying to see how zones are connected, so you can get to your objective or point of interest. Early on, it can be frustrating trial and error navigating around the island, though it's a relatively small gripe considering you can fast travel and how familiar you'll get with the map over time. One of the things you'll notice immediately is how the controls don't feel quite right. Now the controls are very responsive, it's not that. It's just how the buttons are mapped. I'm not sure if it's a product of its age, but thankfully you can remap the buttons to your liking. Ah, much better. With that out of the way, let's fight. The combat is simple but satisfying, fast-paced action, with hack-and-slash button mashing, blocking, dodging, and jumping. You can see enemies roaming the world, so no random battles, and you can choose whether or not to fight them, and let's be honest, you're gonna fight them. You're rewarded for perfect timing, with enemy slowdowns or granting you temporary increased strength. Each party member has
a very particular set of skills
that they can use and an ultimate ability that they can charge up. You can instantly swap between the party members, and while they all play similarly, they all have different skills and use different attack types, like slash, strike, or pierce. Each enemy is weakest to a specific type of attack, and hitting them with what they're weak to can break their defense, temporarily stunning them. You can mix, match, and change your skills as much as you want, and as you learn more, you'll be changing them out frequently. The fast fights with easy controls have a great flow as you go from fight to fight, swapping between playable characters and eventually changing up who's in your party. And that all fits into the larger loop of exploration and upgrading your characters. Since you can see treasures and enemies out in the world, these don't feel as separate as in other games. You'll gain XP as you fight for leveling up your characters, gaining new skills, and generally getting stronger. And each of your skills will level up as you use them, encouraging you to use all of your skills to make you a force to be reckoned with. You can equip new armor and weapons you find, but you can also improve them at the blacksmith, using the materials you've acquired. The beefier the upgrade, the rarer the materials needed for the upgrade, whether you find them or combine lower level materials together to become higher level. And this is also true at the apothecary for brewing potions and tonics. You can also get new skins with various buffs at the seamstress, and you can even cook at campsites to acquire food that will help you on your journey. Food and potions can instantly heal you when in combat, or you'll slowly heal automatically when standing still outside of a fight. And there's a lot to do outside of combat. You'll establish a village with all of the castaways you're saving. As your village expands, it becomes a more attractive target for the throngs of creatures on the island. So of course,
this is my house. I have to defend it.
You'll use the resources you've gathered to build barriers, traps, and snares around the village to keep it safe. When out adventuring, you'll be notified if the village is being raided, so you can choose to keep doing what you're doing, or, I don't know, save the village? Why are you even thinking about this? Assuming you're not a monster and you go to defend the village, this will trigger a sort of defense minigame, where you can try to protect the village and barriers from waves of baddies. For every round of the invasion, you'll get a score based on the damage you've dealt and the damage dealt to you. After all rounds, you'll get a final score and rewards based on how well you did. And some of the rewards are pretty great, so you'll want to do really well. In fact, you can even conduct practice raids to make sure you can get the best score possible. Eventually, hunts will be available, with the same wave-based structure as the raids, but instead of being on the defense, you'll be on offense, going out into the field, taking out enemy nests, eventually culminating in a boss fight. I thought these little diversions were a lot of fun, breaking up the general flow without being monotonous or overly intrusive. You can gain more favor with the villagers by giving them gifts or completing quests for them. As their affections grow, they become stronger and are more effective in raids and hunts. One other activity worth mentioning is fishing. Of course there's fishing. I'm not sure when the law was passed that said all RPGs need fishing, but it must have been sometime before 2016 because it's here in this game. It's pretty simple. As you approach water, you'll see the shadow of fish. If you have bait, you can cast your line, and when you get a bite, you'll mash that X button like your life depends on it. Some fish get trickier with directional inputs or bumpers, but it's never overly tough. Sometimes you'll even pull up treasures, so you'll always want to keep your eyes peeled when near water. You can use the fish for cooking or feed them to this giant bird for rewards. And of course, completionists, you'll want to catch every variety of fish. And that takes us to the visuals. I love the overall look of this game, with its bright and vibrant color palette, expressive characters, and cozy vibes. But it definitely shows its age and looks like a high-res Vita game, because it basically is. I mean, the character models and environments easily could have come from the PS2. The textures are simple, and the animations, particularly in the cutscenes, are very stiff. Though this type of cel-shading anime aesthetic tends to hold up over time. The voice actors did a nice job of breathing life into the characters, with everyone able to convey a wide range of emotions. And I have to praise the music. It's really great, complementing the action and the mood of each scene with a range of killer tunes, from heavy electric guitars punctuating the fights to the somber piano melodies that slow things down. The music kept me consistently engaged and immersed in everything going on. Okay, let's talk about the PS5 version of the game. Yeah, there's a native PS5 version that isn't just an upgrade if you already have the PS4 version. So, what's included? First off, you'll get all of the DLC. This mostly boils down to new outfits for your party, with Adol and Laxia getting the lion's share. Laxia's outfits tend to be particularly fan-servicey because, of course they are. And you'll also get a few accessories to adorn the party, with things like plushies from other Falcom games. They aren't game-changing, but a nice little touch. The visuals have been given a slight polish, mostly just improving the texture quality and adding a new shadow engine, but this still doesn't look like a current-gen game by any means. The original release had tons of localization issues with typos, random punctuation, and strange grammar throughout, but that's been fixed on all versions with post-launch patches. And of course, the PS5 version includes all of that cleanup work too. Now, from a performance perspective, the PS4 version already runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second at 1080p. The PS5 version has two graphical modes, one that's 60 frames per second at 4K, and the other running at 120 frames a second at 1080p. So it'll look a bit crisper, but there isn't a huge difference in the visuals. What's disappointing is there's no upgrade path or discount for previous owners of the title. So if you're looking to get Ys 8 for the first time, the PS5 version is the way to go. But if you already have a prior version, I wouldn't recommend paying full price to get this version. Though it does include a whole new set of trophies if you're dying to complete the game a second time. So let's talk about the completion process for the game. You can 100% the game in a single run, but I'd actually recommend doing 2 playthroughs. Funny enough, either path will take about the same amount of time, and and that's because of the difficulty-related trophy where you need to beat the game on Nightmare difficulty. But since you level up far slower with that difficulty, and you're up against much tougher enemies, it will feel like a slog if you start that hard. Whereas if you play on normal or easy, you can take care of everything you need to, buff up your characters, and tackle the Nightmare run on New Game Plus, where you're already beefed up and ready for the challenge. Either way you tackle it, expect around 80 hours to do and see everything. And what an amazing time that is. These games, while getting more mainstream, still aren't talked about as often as other big RPGs, but I think that should change. These games are truly special and absolutely unlike anything else. VIII Lacrimosa of Dana is a fantastic action RPG with an endearing cast, a punchy and addictive combat system, and a charming story. Just because the visuals aren't exactly cutting edge doesn't mean you should overlook this gem of a title. Even years later, VIII is a worthwhile experience. This is an absolute must-play for fans of JRPGs. And you can now include me in that small but expanding Ys fanbase, with VIII cementing it for me. All that's left to do is play more Ys. So, what are your thoughts about VIII, and what's your favorite Ys game? If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe, and if you want my thoughts on another underrated RPG series, check out my video right here.